Imagine spending 5 years building the next revolutionary startup, only to discover that someone making twice as much money owns 3 laundromats, a vending machine route, and a storage facility you've driven past 100 times without noticing. Sounds impossible, because we've been taught that wealth comes from innovation, creating the next big app, inventing a groundbreaking product, or chasing the latest trend. But after digging through dozens of real business models, I found something that completely flipped that belief upside down. The people quietly building lasting wealth aren't usually chasing the future. They're buying or building the businesses everyone else ignores. And by the end of this video, you'll understand the one question that separates businesses that make you work forever from businesses that keep paying you long after the work is done. Think about the businesses people admire. Tech startups, luxury brands, AI companies, crypto projects. These are the businesses that dominate headlines and social media feeds. They're exciting, fast-moving, and packed with stories of overnight success. But there's one problem. Most of them fail. Not because the founders weren't smart. Not because they didn't work hard. They failed because they entered markets where thousands of equally ambitious people were all chasing the same opportunity. Competition becomes brutal. Customer acquisition becomes expensive. And every month starts with the same question. Where is the next sale coming from? Now compare that to the owner of a commercial cleaning company. Nobody interviews them on podcasts. Nobody calls them a visionary. Yet every Monday morning, invoices go out to the same clients they've served for years. No viral marketing, no product launch, just predictable cash flow. That contrast reveals something fascinating. The biggest fortunes are often built by solving ordinary problems, not extraordinary ones. And once I noticed that pattern, I started seeing it everywhere, because these businesses aren't really selling products, they're selling relief. Here's something most people never think about. People rarely wake up excited to buy bookkeeping services. Nobody dreams about paying for pest control. And no business owner proudly announces they just hired a pressure washing company. Yet these industries continue generating billions of dollars every year. Why? Because they're solving problems that refuse to disappear. Restaurants can't ignore health inspections. Office buildings don't stop getting dirty. Small businesses still need organized financial records. These aren't luxury purchases. They're operational necessities. That's an incredibly powerful position to be in. When your business solves a recurring problem, you're no longer convincing people to buy something they want. You're helping them avoid something they don't want. And psychologically, people are often more motivated to avoid pain than to pursue pleasure. That's why businesses built around recurring headaches tend to produce recurring revenue. Not because they're glamorous, because they're needed. But this is only the first layer. Because the businesses that quietly outperform almost everything else aren't just solving recurring problems. Many of them have figured out how to make the same asset generate income over and over again. And once you understand that difference, you'll never look at an ordinary parking lot or even a vending machine the same way again. Imagine buying a lawn mower for one weekend. Now imagine renting that same mower to 50 different people over the next 3 years. Same machine. Completely different economics. That's the hidden advantage behind many of the world's most overlooked businesses. Laundromats don't sell washing machines. They rent access to them. Self-storage facilities don't sell buildings. They rent empty space. Parking lots don't sell land. They rent convenience. Portable restroom companies don't sell toilets. They rent temporary solutions. Even vending machine owners aren't really in the snack business. They're in the business of owning valuable locations. The chips and drinks simply justify why the machine gets to occupy that space. This completely changes how you think about business. Instead of asking, what can I sell? Successful owners ask, what can I own that other people will repeatedly pay to use? That small shift creates dramatically different outcomes. A product is sold once. An asset can earn hundreds of times. And the more inconvenient or expensive that asset is to own personally, the more attractive renting becomes. Think about heavy construction equipment, scaffolding, industrial tools, professional landscaping machines. Most contractors don't want to spend tens of thousands of dollars buying equipment they'll only need for a few weeks each year. Renting simply makes more financial sense. The owner absorbs the upfront cost once, then collects income again, and again, and again. That's a completely different game. Here's something I found surprising. The more uncomfortable a business sounds, the fewer competitors it usually has. Most people would rather brainstorm startup ideas in a coffee shop than own a pest control company. They'd rather design an app than manage portable restrooms. They'd rather launch a clothing brand than clean commercial buildings. And that's exactly why these industries remain attractive. Because competition isn't determined by profitability. It's determined by popularity. When everyone wants to enter the same market, profits get squeezed. When almost nobody wants to enter, opportunity quietly grows. This doesn't mean every boring business is automatically successful. Execution still matters. Location matters. Customer service matters. But it does explain why some of of the wealthiest entrepreneurs you've never heard of own businesses you'd never think about starting. They're not chasing attention, they're chasing predictable demand. And those are two very different things. So far, we've looked at businesses that rent assets and solve recurring problems. But the next pattern might be the most valuable of all, because it explains why some plumbers now earn more than software founders, and why specializing can be far more profitable than trying to serve everyone. Most people think earning more means working harder, but the market doesn't reward effort, it rewards value. And one of the fastest ways to increase your value isn't by working longer hours, it's by becoming the obvious solution to a very specific problem. Take electricians. For decades, the job looked almost the same. Install wiring, replace outlets, fix electrical issues. Then something changed. Electric vehicles became mainstream. Homes started filling with smart thermostats, security systems, solar panels, and EV chargers. Suddenly, homeowners weren't just looking for an electrician. They needed someone who understood an entirely new ecosystem. The work didn't become infinitely harder. It simply became more specialized. And specialization almost always commands a premium. The same thing happens in plumbing. A plumber who handles every type of customer competes with hundreds of other plumbers. But one who focuses exclusively on commercial kitchens solves a problem that restaurants can't afford to ignore. A blocked drain during dinner service doesn't just create inconvenience. It stops revenue. When every minute costs a business money, price becomes a secondary concern. Speed and reliability become everything. That's an important lesson that reaches far beyond plumbing. The more expensive a customer's problem is, the more valuable your solution becomes. People don't pay premium prices because your work is difficult. They pay because their problem is urgent. But there's another pattern hiding beneath all of this. And once I noticed it, I realized something surprising. The wealthiest business owners often aren't the ones creating businesses at all. They're buying businesses that already work. Think about how most people imagine entrepreneurship. They picture someone sketching ideas in a notebook, building a website, creating a logo, launching a product, finding the first customer. Everything starts at zero. That sounds exciting, but it's also where the risk is highest. Because at that stage, nobody knows whether customers even want what you're selling. Now imagine walking into a business that's already been operating for 10 years. It already has customers. It already generates revenue. Employees understand their jobs. Suppliers know the owner. The systems are already in place. Instead of asking, will this business work? You're asking, can I make an existing business work even better? That's a completely different challenge, and often a much safer one. Across the country, thousands of small business owners are approaching retirement. Many have spent decades building profitable companies, cleaning services, laundromats, HVAC companies, storage facilities, pest control businesses. They're not failing. They're simply looking for someone to take over. Most people never consider this path because starting something new feels more entrepreneurial. But buying proven cash flow can be far less risky than chasing an untested idea. You're not purchasing a dream. You're purchasing evidence. Evidence that customers already exist. Evidence that people are already willing to pay. Evidence that demand has survived good years and bad years. That's incredibly valuable. At this point, you may have noticed something. We've talked about cleaning companies, storage facilities, parking lots, bookkeeping, vending machines, plumbers, electricians, laundromats. On the surface, they seem completely unrelated. Different industries, different customers, different skills. But underneath, they all share the same operating system. Recurring revenue. Think about two businesses. One sells a customer a product once. The other serves that same customer every month for years. Which one has to spend more time finding new customers? The answer is obvious. Every new customer costs time, money, marketing, trust. If existing customers keep coming back automatically, your business grows on a much stronger foundation. That's why recurring revenue quietly changes everything. It transforms unpredictable income into something far more stable. It allows owners to plan, to hire, to invest, to sleep a little better at night. The business stops feeling like a constant race. Instead, it becomes a system, and systems create leverage. Remember the question I asked at the very beginning? Why does someone with 3 laundromats sometimes outperform someone chasing the next billion-dollar startup? Now you know. It was never about laundromats, or vending machines, or parking lots. Those were only examples. The real advantage was hiding underneath them the entire time. The business owner wasn't selling products. They were building predictable cash flow, and predictable cash flow is what eventually buys freedom. Here's what surprised me most while researching all of these businesses. None of them sound exciting at first. Nobody brags about owning a pest control company at a dinner party. Nobody dreams about bookkeeping when they're a kid. Nobody posts glamorous photos from inside a laundromat. Yet those businesses quietly pay mortgages, fund college educations, create generational wealth. and sometimes outperform businesses that receive all the attention. That doesn't mean boring businesses are easy. They're not. Every successful business still requires discipline, smart decisions, and consistent execution. But excitement has never been a reliable business strategy. Consistency has. So before you fall in love with the next brilliant idea, ask yourself one simple question. Will this business pay me once? Or can it keep paying me without starting over every month? That single question filters out a surprising number of opportunities, because the goal isn't to build the flashiest business. It's to build one that's still quietly making money long after the excitement fades. If this video changed the way you think about entrepreneurship, let me know which business surprised you the most, and more importantly, which underlying principle stood out. Because once you stop chasing exciting ideas and start recognizing repeatable systems, you'll never look at ordinary businesses the same way again. I'll see you in the next one.